Stop. Whatever your hands were doing, let them rest for a moment. I am not asking for your whole day. I am asking for these few minutes, and I am asking for them completely. What I want to say cannot be heard sideways. It cannot be heard while half of you is standing somewhere else, already thinking about the next thing. So let the noise settle. Let your shoulders come down from around your ears. Let my voice reach the part of you that quietly stopped expecting good news. You did not wander into these words by accident. I arranged this. I have arranged stranger things than a message finding the right person at the right hour. I did not bring you here to flatter you or to tell you what you already know. I brought you here because something has to be said today, and it has to be said to you. I know the shape your life is in right now, not the version you describe when someone asks how you are doing. The other one, the one you carry when the house is quiet and there is no one left to be strong for. There is a thing you have been asking me for. You have asked so many times that the words wore smooth, like a stone handled too often. At some point you stopped saying it out loud. You started folding it up small and setting it in a back corner of your heart, the way a person folds a letter that never got an answer. And a thought began to grow in that corner. Maybe he stopped listening. Maybe I am being punished for something. Maybe I asked for the wrong thing, and the silence is his way of saying no without having to say it. Hear me clearly. That thought is not from me, and it is not true. I did not stop listening. I did not turn my face away from you. And I have never once used silence as a way to shame you. What happened is different, and it is time you understood it, because the misunderstanding has cost you more than the delay ever did. Some things in your life have been sealed shut. In the old world, a seal was not a lock. A lock keeps out thieves. A seal was pressed into soft wax with a ring, and it meant something else entirely. It meant this stays closed until the one with the authority opens it. A sealed jar of oil was not empty. A sealed letter was not blank. A sealed tomb was not the end of the story. The contents were already there, already full, already finished. They were simply waiting on the hand that had the right to break the wax. There are 3 places in your life carrying that mark. The first is over your provision. What comes in, what stays, what runs through your fingers before you can close them. The second is over the people, who stands beside you, who understands you, who answers when you call. The third is over your purpose, the reason you were made, the work with your name on it that no one else can do in your place. 3 seals, 3 sealed things, and you have spent years pushing against wax, thinking it was stone. I am not going to tell you that the hard years were a lesson I was teaching you. That would make me cruel, and I am not cruel. I did not arrange your losses to sharpen your character. Some of what happened to you happened because the world is broken and people have their own will, and I hate what it cost you as much as you do. What I will tell you is this: you were not overlooked while you waited. Not for 1 hour of it. There is a difference between a man who is forgotten and a man who is held, and from the inside they can feel almost the same. You have been held. I have been closer to you in the last year than in any year of your life, and you could not feel it because pain takes up so much room that it crowds out everything standing beside it. Long ago, I told a man named Habakkuk to write down what I showed him. Write it plainly, I said, so a runner can read it as he passes. The vision is for an appointed time. It speaks of the end and does not lie. Though it takes long, wait for it, because it will surely come and it will not be late. Notice what I did not say. I did not say it will come quickly. I said it will not be late. There is a difference, and that difference is where you have been living. So here is what I am asking of you in these next minutes. Stay. Do not step away halfway through and leave the wax unbroken. Do not decide ahead of me what this can and cannot be for you. And do not let the old thought speak first when I say something good, because it has had the first word in your heart for far too long. I'm going to break these 3 seals with you, one at a time, in order. And I'm going to tell you plainly what has been sitting behind each one, because you have a right to know what is yours. But first, understand how this will come to you so you do not miss it while looking the wrong way. You are expecting thunder. Something loud enough to settle every argument. Something so obvious that the people who doubted you will have to admit they were wrong. I understand why. When a person has been let down often enough, they start needing proof that cannot be explained away. That is not usually how I move. Elijah stood on the mountain, and I sent a wind that split the rocks. I was not in the wind. Then an earthquake. I was not in the earthquake. Then fire. I was not in the fire. And after the fire came a low, quiet voice. And that is where I was. A woman pressed through a crowd and touched the edge of a garment without saying one word, and everything in her changed on the spot. I'm usually the quiet thing in the room, so do not stand there waiting for a shout while I am speaking in a whisper right beside you. Something is about to shift in your life, and it will likely arrive without announcement. A conversation that goes differently than every other one. A door that opens on a Tuesday for no reason you can name. A weight that lifts off your chest while you're washing dishes, and you stop, hands wet, wondering what just happened. That is me. Learn to recognize me. If your heart is still standing here with me, say your amen right now, out loud, where you are. Now let us go to the first seal, the one over your provision. You know this one better than the other 2, because you have been pressing on it the longest. You work. You keep working. And somehow the ground never rises under your feet. Money comes in and leaves through a hole you cannot find. Something breaks the same week something else is repaid. You have done the arithmetic at the kitchen table more times than you would admit to anyone, moving the same small numbers around, hoping they add up differently by looking at them again. I want to say something to you that no one else has said about this. The lack was never a verdict on you. You decided at some point that it was. You watched people with half your effort and a quarter of your honesty walk into ease, and something inside you concluded that they had a favor you were missing. That maybe you were built slightly wrong. That maybe there is a kind of person who gets to have enough, and you were simply not made from that material. That is a lie you have carried for years, and I want it out of my house. Look at who I have fed. A widow in Zarephath had a handful of flour and a little oil in a jar, and she was gathering sticks to cook the last meal she and her son would eat before they lay down to die. That was the whole of her supply. I sent a hungry prophet to her door and asked her for the first portion of it. It sounds unkind until you know the end. The flour did not run out. The oil did not fail. Not that day, not that month, not until the rain came again. Notice how that worked. I did not fill her house with grain. I filled her jar day after day, for as long as she needed it filled. She never once had a storehouse. She never once went hungry. Some of you have been asking me for a storehouse because you are tired of the jar. I understand the tiredness, but I have not been failing to provide. I have been providing in a rhythm that requires you to keep coming back to me. And there were seasons when that rhythm was the only thing keeping your heart near mine. That season is closing now. Here is what has actually been happening behind that first seal, and I want you to hear it without flinching. Provision has been reaching toward you and turning back at the door. Things meant for your hand went to another hand. Opportunities passed close enough that you felt the wind off them. You were not imagining that. You were not being dramatic. Something was standing between what I released and what you received. Some of that came from the enemy of your soul, who has no power to create anything and spends his whole existence rerouting what belongs to someone else. Some of it came from doors that were shut by people who never knew your name. And some of it, I will tell you honestly, came from timing that would have harmed you. There were 3 occasions in the last several years when the very thing you begged me for would have arrived beside a person or an arrangement that would have taken far more from you than the money was worth. You wept over those closed doors. One day you will thank me for 2 of them. But not everything shut was protection, and I am not going to insult you by pretending it was. Some of it was simply not yet. And not yet has an ending. The wax on that first seal is breaking as my voice reaches you. Let me tell you what to expect, because I would rather you recognize it than argue with it. Peter fished all night. All night in the water he had worked since he was a boy, with the skill of a man who knew every current in that lake. He caught nothing, not a small catch, nothing. In the morning, a carpenter told him to put the nets down again in the same water, in the wrong part of the day, and the nets filled so full that they began to tear, and a second boat had to come out to help carry it. Same lake, same man, same nets. One word of difference. Your breakthrough may not require a new city, a new trade, or a new set of skills. It may require one instruction, given at the right hour, into the same water you have already worked to the point of exhaustion. So do not despise the ordinary ground you are standing on. The ordinary ground is where I do most of my work. Watch for these things in the days just ahead. Money arriving from a direction you were not watching. Something owed to you that you had written off entirely. A cost that was coming toward you and simply does not arrive. A person who thinks of your name in a room you are not standing in. That last one matters more than you know. Most of what I have ever given a man came to him through the mouth of somebody else. A cupbearer remembered Joseph 2 years late, and by nightfall that same day Joseph stood in front of the king with a ring on his hand. 2 years the cupbearer forgot. One afternoon to change everything. So when the shift begins, do not shrink it down to a coincidence. Do not say it was luck or timing or the market, or that things were bound to turn eventually. Put your hand on it and call it what it is. Say it out loud. This came from my Father. There is a reason I ask that of you. Every unclaimed good thing goes quietly back to being ordinary, and an ordinary thing teaches your heart nothing. But a thing you name as mine builds something in you that carries into the next hard season, and there will be other seasons. I am not building you a life without weather. I am building a man, a woman, who knows my voice in the weather. The first seal is open. What was held is released. Not because you finally earned it, and not because you prayed the right words in the right order, but because the appointed time has come, and I am the one who keeps the appointments. Do not go back to the arithmetic tonight. Come and eat. If you believe what I have just told you, let me hear you say it. Speak your amen where you stand. Now the second seal. This one is over the people. You are lonely in a way that has nothing to do with how many names you know. That is the part almost nobody understands. You can be surrounded and still be the only one in the room who is actually there. You have sat at tables full of talk and felt like a guest in your own life. Somewhere along the way you became the strong one, the one who handles it, the one people call when something has gone wrong and never call when nothing has. So you learned to answer, you learned to carry, and you learned without ever deciding to that there is no one to hand your own weight to, so you might as well stop looking for a place to set it down. Do you know what that has done to you? It has made you fluent in a language of your own. You can tell someone you are fine in 11 different ways and mean none of them. I have heard every one of them. My child, I am asking you to place a portion of what you have, something of real weight, upon the altar of this work, as gold laid on the scales of this calling. Let it be a seed sown into deep water, an offering set on stone, not held back in fear. This is proof that your trust rests in my hand to provide, and that your heart no longer clings to lack. What you release in faith does not leave your life. It moves ahead of you into the harvest I am preparing. Now let me tell you what has been sitting behind this second seal, because it is not what you assume. You assume the problem is that no one good has come. The truth is that people have come and gone, and a few of them were mine, and you did not recognize them because you had already decided in advance what help would look like. You were watching for someone to rescue you. I was sending someone to sit with you. Those are not the same, and the second is rarer and worth more. Job had 3 friends. When they heard what had happened to him, they came from 3 different places and found him so changed by grief, they did not know his face. They tore their clothes and sat down on the ground beside him for 7 days and 7 nights, and did not say one word, because they saw that his pain was very great. That was the best thing they ever did for him. The moment they opened their mouths to explain his suffering, they became a burden heavier than the suffering. Understand what I am telling you. The people I am bringing you may not fix a single thing. They will sit down. And when the ones who sit down arrive, do not measure them against the ones who were supposed to fix it. There was a man named Saul who had hunted my people, dragged them out of their houses, stood by their deaths with satisfaction. Then I met him on a road and turned his life inside out. And when he came to the very people he had persecuted, every one of them was afraid of him. They did not believe he had changed. Who could blame them? One man believed him. Barnabas took him by the arm and walked him in and told them what had happened on that road. One man vouching for another. That is the whole hinge of it. Half the letters in my book exist because a single man was willing to stand beside someone nobody else would stand beside. I am sending you a Barnabas, not a crowd. One is enough. Do not despise the smallness of one, and I am going to be honest with you about the other half of this, because you have felt it starting already. Some people are leaving your life, and I am not stopping it. You have noticed the thinning. Someone stopped answering. A friendship that used to be effortless now takes work that only you seem willing to do. Invitations that used to come do not. And you have been lying awake asking yourself what you did wrong. Often nothing. Not every departure is a punishment, and not every closed door is a rejection. Some rooms were making you smaller, and you had grown so used to the ceiling that you began to walk, stooped even outdoors. I am not going to leave you in a room where you have to shrink to fit. If someone can only stay in your life while you stay beneath yourself, then their leaving is not a loss. It is a door held open. Grieve it honestly. I am not asking you to pretend it does not hurt, but do not go chasing back down a road I closed on purpose, apologizing for growing. Now hear this, because it is the heart of the second seal. Ruth was a foreigner and a widow with nothing. Her mother-in-law told her plainly to go home, that there was no future to be had by staying, that the road ahead held only poverty. Ruth would not go. She said, "Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay." She had no reason to say it. There was nothing in it for her. They walked into Bethlehem at the start of the barley harvest, and Ruth went out to gather leftover grain in whatever field would tolerate her, and she happened into a field belonging to a man named Boaz. It says she happened. I want you to hold that word. It says she happened into it, because from the ground that is exactly what it looked like. It was the beginning of a family line that runs to a king, and past that king, further than she could ever have imagined from where she stood in that dust with her hands full of somebody else's leftovers. She did not know. She could not have known. She was tired and hungry and doing the small, honest thing in front of her. You are somewhere in a chapter like that right now, and you cannot see the shape of it from inside. That is not a failure of your faith. It is the nature of standing in a field.